Yeah, I'm a little bit ready to get hate for this online. That's all I see coming from this because, of course, Francis Ngannou, it has been announced that he will be taking on Anthony Joshua, and I believe the date was in March. Regardless, I just feel like I want to call out people a little bit. Nobody in specific, but a lot of the MMA community, a lot of MMA content creators, people like Ariel Helwani, everybody has been parading. Like, oh my god, Francis Ngannou, hey, who's fumbling the bag now, Dana White? And I just want to come from the point of somebody who was really kind of disagreeing with Francis's move initially because it was the correct thing to believe. We're going to talk more about it in just a second. I do want to say before we get into it though, hello everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about Francis Ngannou. So before we get into it though, I do want to say this is amazing for Francis Ngannou. He beat the odds, okay? He's completely succeeding, and so many people didn't expect him to, right? That is great, okay? I'm not hating on the fact that this man is getting success. I just need to make that clear, okay? Hopefully people watched enough into the video. I'm recording for about a minute now that people have heard me say that. I'm sure I'm going to get the comments, but telling him and really not necessarily making fun of him, just saying it was a stupid decision to leave the UFC and a stupid decision to ask Dana White for more money. That was the correct decision. That was the correct and safe thing to assume. Who would have thought that he would have went on boxing? And I know there's a lot of people coming back claiming that they knew this all along. Nobody could have known that, man. Nobody could have known that. This is all rooting for one. You could be just rooting for Francis Ngannou. You've seen a lot of people like Ariel Helwani, for example, really encouraging Francis, and when he didn't have a plan, they're like, yeah, Francis, you got this. And at the times where he's had interviews, he didn't have a plan. He didn't know what was going on. He's like, yeah, I'm going to make this money, but you don't have a plan? And then you can see Ariel Helwani kind of like, oh, you don't have a plan, right? There were a bunch of moments like that, and it took so long for him to fight Tyson Fury, right? It's awesome that he succeeded, okay? But everybody was coming, or most people were coming from a point of cheering for Francis Ngannou, and they were just rooted for hatred towards the UFC and Dana White. They wanted Dana White to squirm. They wanted all these clips to go, hey, we're in the business to make money. Francis Ngannou wants to do this. Yeah, no, this is where he's going to fight the best fighters. He's not going to fight the best fighters in boxing. And then they want that clip to be cut to see Francis Ngannou knocking down Tyson Fury and doing the little dance that he did, right? It worked. It worked, but nobody could have called that. People were encouraging, and this is what I really didn't like about it, okay? People hate the UFC and Dana White so much that they were encouraging Francis Ngannou to leave the UFC, have no plan, potentially ruin his career, and go broke. Just because they hate the UFC and Dana White. They wanted Dana White to lose a champion. People were actively encouraging that because I find it so hard to believe that people really did believe in Francis Ngannou. Really did. There's no way. How could you have possibly believed in it? And again, this is important to note. I'm swallowing my words right now because I was so outspoken against this, right? I'm swallowing my words. I was completely wrong, but it was the correct thing to believe. You'd be crazy to believe that Francis Ngannou was going to leave his position at the UFC as heavyweight champion, making the money that he did, to go on and make more in boxing. They were gimmick fights. People wouldn't even entertain him, but it worked. The correct thing to assume was that Francis Ngannou was going to fail. And the people on my side, or at least, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of people with also ill intentions, right? The people on my side, and I'm not going to sit here, I've been vocal that I don't really like Francis Ngannou, but I was sitting here saying, this is career damaging. This is horrible for your career. What are you doing? You're the heavyweight champion? Be a little more grateful. I was a little bit more on the harsh side of it, but more people that were on my side actually did care about Francis Ngannou. Didn't want his life to be ruined. Wanted him to succeed and have money for the rest of his life, have generational wealth. People were coming from that angle. And there were also people just absolutely hating on Francis Ngannou. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't really like that everybody online right now is claiming that, I knew Francis Ngannou could do it. Yeah, Dana White said this, but I was sitting here the whole time saying Francis Ngannou could do it, and they didn't believe it. There's no way you actually believed in Francis Ngannou. You just hate Dana White. You just hate in the UFC, and some people may have, I don't want to be insulting, but people may have just bought into the hype, not understood of how difficult this was actually to accomplish for Francis Ngannou, and actually did believe in him, but just they didn't know any better, right? There's a combination between that and a combination of people really just wanting somebody to leave the UFC. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. It's crazy to me that everyone is just parading like it's their own accomplishment. I called it. I called it. Francis Ngannou was leaving. That's like me sitting here and saying that Darren Till's going to come back to the UFC and become the middleweight champion and have a long reigning title run. If he happens to do it, I can sit here and then be like, yup, I was here. I've always said Darren Till is the best. And in reality, it's an asinine take, right? Of course it's possible. Darren Till could make a comeback, but that's what people are doing with Francis Ngannou right now. And that's what's like, it's not really driving me crazy, but I shake my head at it when I look at it online. So it's crazy to me. But guys, if you are actually interested though, why I do not like Francis Ngannou, and again, it has nothing to do with this entire situation he has going on. I do have a video explaining that if you'd like to go check it out. Regardless, I will see you either there or in the next video, everybody. Take care.